In Sacramento to cover the Mike Brown press conference. Of course, Mike Brown, assistant with the Warriors, is now the head coach of the Sacramento Kings. He'll be introduced today at 1 o'clock. Hey, thanks a lot for joining us, Anthony. Really appreciate it.
Yes, sir. I'm pulling up towards Golden One Center, the new home of Mike Brown, pretty soon.
Nice. Let's go with – I'm trying to think how I want to start this, but I'll do it this way. Warriors off-season priorities. I feel like just kind of going through them and saying – what do you think's going to happen? All right, Jordan Poole.
Yeah, I think that he's actually lower on the priority list than maybe many people would presume, because he's under contract for $3.9 million next season, number one. Number two, he's a restricted free agent, the following summer. So if it doesn't get worked out, there will be discussions. But you can work through rookie extension eligibility, conversations all the way till Halloween, basically. And if by that time the two sides don't even come to an agreement, they can just go into restricted free agency next year, where the Warriors still hold the cards in a sense, where they can match anything put out there. So as we're, I'm sure, about to get to some of the other situations, to me there's more urgency because of the unrestricted nature beyond from Jordan Poole.
What is the number one priority, do you think?
I think it's Kevon Looney. James Wiseman has not emerged yet, and I mean, they're hopeful he's going to play summer league, and but they still want to handle him with patience. And I think it's unwise to go into next season believing just hand over the starting job to James Wiseman. He needs probably a lower stakes role and proving ground before he can take over a starting center spot. Whereas Kevon Looney is not only is he the placeholder at this point, he has proven he's a very capable starting center for this championship contender, and you do not have a big man beyond him, really. And as Draymond Green continues to age, and Looney showed in the finals, there are times where maybe he is fine being the lone big on the floor. So to me, because he's up and because he's probably going to be coveted around the league at a position that the Warriors roster is thinnest at, to me, getting him secured is the number one priority.
Yeah, always a pleasure, Anthony. I think I got it wrong. Steiny was he gave me a list of players, and I was like, man, because of Wiseman, maybe he plays Looney minutes, and now I'm already thinking I got that one wrong. Won't be my first L. Yesterday, I saw you on the float. We were all there for the parade. I read you daily, but when it's all said and done, the smoke has settled. I mean, how surprised are you, Anthony, that this team not only won the chip, but if I were to talk to you when they were down 1-0 in the fashion that they blew the lead, down 2-1, just how shocked is Anthony Slater that the Warriors are the 2021-2022 champs?
I mean, I'm shocked. I mean, I probably picked them 4, 5, 6 seed, I think, in preseason. Thought they would avoid the play-in, but that even felt on the optimistic side. There were plenty of people that had them in the play-in or even out of the playoffs. So much had to break right. Clay had to come back healthy. Poole had to emerge. Draymond and Steph had to kind of elongate their prime. Some of the young guys needed the help. It all checked well for them. I think the league broke right for them. Nobody emerged. Phoenix kind of faded, obviously, in the playoffs. So it was a surprising title run. And then as far as within the finals, I picked the Warriors in 7. I felt like Game 1 might be, in retrospect, after the series, if the Celtics won it, kind of the turning point of the series is Game 1, you lose the home game. And then even when they were down 2-1, and the way the Celtics handled them in Boston, I was telling people at that point, I was like, it's probably Boston at 6. That was my gut feeling. But the Warriors solved them, and then honestly, by Game 5, middle of Game 5, you could tell the Warriors kind of had control of that series.
Anthony Slater joining us on 95.7 The Game. Anthony, Andrew Wiggins going to make $33 million next year. That's assured. You could wait to you could extend him right now, obviously, or you could wait till the end of next season. But the difference between him and Poole is he's going to be unrestricted. So how do you think the Warriors handle that?
I think, it depends on the price tag, and there will be discussions, and I think Wiggins' side is going to, want, obviously, a highly priced and really earned in these playoffs, extension, but you don't necessarily, if you're the Warriors, have to do it yet, because as you mentioned, you can kind of take it towards next summer. You have his bird rights. You also maybe want to see how does Kuminga look to open next season? How does Moses Moody look? I think initially they seem to be the successors for Andrew Wiggins once his contract ran out. Now, the way Wiggins played, I think he changed the equation. You do want to keep him around, but I don't think you have to just lock in right away max extension, all the years. If it's a price tag that I think both sides are comfortable with, maybe you do. I mean, he is still at 27. So those discussions will be had in the weeks ahead. I think everyone's still kind of settling back, absorbing what happened. The Warriors still have to make a draft pick, Thursday, or at least some decision with the 28th overall pick, and then they'll head into free agency. I think they're going to want to see the price tags that come up on their unrestricted guys now, which we're talking Looney, Payton, Porter. Once they get that money settled, the roster settled, then you maybe turn to Wiggins and go, is there an extension that makes sense for both sides? And if there isn't, you take it into the season and you kind of see where it goes from there.
Hey, I remember a few games in the Memphis series, more than a few, to where Steph was still kind of not struggling from deep. We were still kind of having the questions we had all season, like it's just odd. Then he basically goes 50, 40, 90 on the biggest stage. But Draymond Green, how would you assess his performance in the finals? And do you think it was just a bad matchup? And I know it's euphoria, and rightfully so, but, hey, I'm having a hard time, processing not what went wrong. It wasn't that bad, but there were a lot of times he was rendered ineffective.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was matchup-based. It was Rob Williams at the rim, wiping away some of those, 4-on-3 downhill type situations where he can be good at times. I think Rob Williams blocked a shot a few times early in the series and had him a little bit more hesitant. We all know when he gets hesitant offensively and the way the other teams can defend him and sag off him, and if he's not hitting his three, and I think he was 0 for 12 from three to start the series, he kind of does get rendered ineffective until he solves it. But to Draymond's credit, and trust me, he will loudly tell all of this if he was on the show with us right now. Winners win, and he figures it out. And there was rightful doubts, I think, in the middle of the series about if Boston just kind of had him solved, and then he proved no, they didn't. I mean, by the middle, what do you have? 8 points, I think, to open Game 5. He hit 3 jumpers in Game 6. I thought, had one of the best defensive performances, or at least the most important defensive performances of his career in Game 6. I mean, he was at the heart of. I think Boston had 21 turnovers. He was probably responsible for 12 of them. Just by jumping a passing lane or just screwing up a dribble handoff, something like that. So. He has proven yet again, as he has pretty much at every point of his career, when the stakes are the highest, when the chips are in the middle, he will help you win games. And, to me, as we talk about his future in the league, that's his greatest argument. Is when has he ever been the reason for a loss, essentially, unless you want to say his suspension in 2016, but that reason for a loss is because he was off the floor. When has he been responsible when he's been on the floor?
Yeah, Anthony Slater joining us on 95.7 The Game. I was just thinking as you were talking about Looney and his priority level this offseason, it started to hit me. Well, wait a minute, Looney played every game this year, so he played 100 games, and Wiseman played 0. So you can't just lose Looney and say, well, this guy's going to, you know what I mean? So I think that's a good point on how valuable he's going to be. But I do want to ask you about Gary Payton II, too. He's 28, I think, and he has bounced around. It's not like other teams have been unfamiliar with him, but now they've seen him develop a role with a really good team. What you think there's a team out there that might throw, I don't know, mid-level money at him?
Yeah, I think there could be, and everyone, you always talk to people in the league about free agency, and they're always just like, you don't really know till you know. You don't know till the second day of free agency, especially with, the main guys are going to get maxed out, and a lot of times stuff is worked out behind the scenes. But with a guy like Peyton, sometimes you just don't know what the market's going to say. I mean, I remember there's been several years in the past that they've thought Looney's gone. They thought Looney's going to get a payday, and he never did, and they got him back at a reasonable deal. Maybe that happens again. As far as Peyton goes, I mean, he's valuable. He closed, I believe, the clincher in the championship game, and he really turned that series. So his value is there. But at the same time, they won the Memphis series without him. They won the Maverick series without him. There's probably a price limit if it gets too high that maybe they won't go. I mean, they did find him in the G League. Not that you can just go and find another Gary Payton, but it is a credit to their scouting services. Their scouting people that found him. So. They want to bring him back, and I do think they're willing to pay a certain price. But if it gets too high, if the league, if somebody, it's not even the league, if one of the other 29 teams just says, like, we need that player and here's the price tag that's going to lure him away, then good for Gary Payton II, right? I mean, we all know his career story to this point. He should take the money. And I'd probably still guess he's back, but, I just don't think the Warriors are willing to go necessarily too overboard.
Yesterday, I was just talking to Steiny about the roster and Oubre. Remember, I was a big fan of his, and Wanamaker. I dubbed him Wanamisser. And then I go back to the Jordan Bell days. And, Anthony, I know it's a team game, but if you're Bob Myers right now, I mean, obviously you just won the chip, but how good are you feeling just about the job you did, how you put this together, and now with Moody and Kuminga kind of just sitting there waiting to grow, I mean, he's got to be feeling good, huh?
Yeah, I think it's a testament to his patience. I don't know how many radio shows I'm sure you guys did, or segments, and podcasts or written articles I had that was like questioning the strategy and the timeline, and you need to trade the picks and the urgency, the youth, the two timelines, whatever terms or situations that I think people in the area when the fan base was freaking out about. They just kind of stayed the course, and their belief the entire time was the Wiggins trade was going to help them, contend, which they proved correct. Were proven correct, and just the roster they built, it worked. Bob has the benefit of having the ownership group he has, which is, Joe Lake of Green Lights, a lot of money that maybe other ownerships wouldn't, but he continues to make the right decisions. And as we talk about legacies being cemented over the past, this playoff run, Bob Myers is right up there. I mean, 4-time champ as an executive, and, we'll go down on the short list of best executives ever at this point.
Anthony, thank you so much for joining us, man.
Appreciate it.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right, fellas.
All right, that's Anthony Slater, 95.7 The Game's NBA and Warriors insider, also works for The Athletic.